everybody. This is Bob from CMRS Train Club, running the CMRS publicity site. We've got some new content coming on here. This is the two series, actually. The first is that I'm going to be mapping the layout using Trainz Model Railroad. And I've been learning the software by mapping out some new planning projects. It didn't turn out to actually be this way initially, but I had the drawings done and figured what the heck, might as well throw them up on YouTube and see where we've got. As you can tell by the audio, if you've been following this channel, I've invested in some new equipment, got myself a tripod, so I've been listening to you out there, and there'll be no more shaky cam moving forward, as well as updating some of the electronics equipment we have. So we'll see what that looks like coming up. We have a open house this weekend, April 29, 17. So if you're in the Bay Area, come on by at Loring Avenue in Crockett. Follow the signs, and we look forward to seeing you. First project is the Sims Recycling in West Sacramento, submitted by Scenery Chairman Don Trink. This is, we'll get the video here started in a second. You'll see the location. Right off camera to the right or behind me is the city of Sacramento, and there is the I guess we're calling it the Davis Grain Facility. There's no prototype for that. The mills are south of Sacramento, but they wanted to be modeled because it's an integral part of railroading and corresponds to a lot of the industries we have on the layout for operations. And that's the location for it, on opposite the tracks right there. Final design is here. Design's been tentatively approved. Final design is still in process. The drawing I don't have, but I've made the Trainz Model Railroad drawings off of this. This is Sims in Sacramento, the prototype, and the concept behind the project as submitted. You can see that it's mostly a scrapyard of a sort, but the metal recycling industry corresponds to some of the other industries on our layout. Not currently served by rail in this image, but in our setup, it was submitted like this with 8 cars. So we'll have, the container facility, the sorting places, loading for the gondolas. In my opinion, I think that 8 cars is long, considering the switch. That's 6 feet. You can kind of see the measuring arrow back there. It's not 6 feet, 60 inches. And you knock out the switch, you can save a foot and knock out 1 car. And I've drawn it differently elsewhere. I've also submitted a plan for West Sacramento's background scenery. I haven't yet photographed, videoized this area. The club's preference is that final completed scenery only be videoed, and so I've sort of respected that lately. This is the area that we're modeling. In future video, when I go and do more of Trainz Model Railroad, I will show you what the prototype images at street level look like. But that bridge right there is the I Street Bridge, and off to the right is the Sacramento Shops, to give you a frame of reference if you want to go check it out on Google Maps yourself. It's a highly wooded area, old railroad, very rustic, lots of Art Deco images, and this right here is my submission. The bakery industry, you see, is already there, and it's actually nestled up right against Sacramento, and there's a matter of difference of opinion right where those 2 buildings are in the front, whether another industry should go there. But this is the concept I'm seeing, that we move the bakery over 16 inches and have no industry there, and then put a bunch of 1950s era buildings surrounding the bakery and integrate it nicely into a prototype-like situation. I have photographs of these buildings right here on the right. Trainz Model Railroad doesn't have, it has a great library of buildings, so that if you're doing freelance on your own, it's great. But if you're doing Walters buildings or anything specific to your era, you have to go through I wouldn't say jump through a lot of hoops, but you have to go through a lot of moving steps in order to get the building in place. I've submitted a proposal also for the Sacramento Passenger Station, and because of its location, I've included scenery for the background, including the Sacramento Shops and some of the prototype industries. Now, this video right here is the very east part of the scenery. And that right there is obviously where the passenger station is going to go, mocked up with DPM modular pieces. In the foreground is where the industry or the station is most likely to go. Um, right here, we're passing the other industries that are going on the layout, and you can see the Sacramento shop sign just passed off to the right. And then we're looking down Sacramento, and that'll probably be the next thing that I do on Trainz, is map the Sacramento yard and the industries that were recently submitted by our electronics chair. Off in the upper left, you see the end of the scenery as I proposed it, even though what will end up being submitted to the club for final approval will not be what I submitted. We're right now hashing out the ideas in order to clarify them. This right here is the area as it sits right now. There's been a lot of construction. They've relocated the main lines right there that you see in front of the old Sacramento shops. They've been relocated. The old tracks were over down at the very bottom next to the station, which is about 100 yards away, which is now light rail. It's kind of a whole intermodal terminal area right there now. And so they've straightened out the main line, and we'll talk more about that in the other. This is the old Sacramento shops, and you can see that the main lines are closer to the station, and the butterfly sheds are right there. The station is just barely seen up in the upper left, but these are the buildings that the way they sat in prototype. As you can see, it's a really high density industrialized area, and the Sacramento yard was kind of small, which is why they eventually moved it over to Roseville and did a state-of-the-art facility just a few miles down the road. Those buildings currently are run by the Historical Society, City of Sacramento. Store some of the Sacramento Railroad Museum buildings. And here's our design. This is the design as I originally submitted it, and where this Sacramento Passenger Station is going as a freight terminal, and I segues into the intermodal facility that I had planned back there. And then you've got two industries across the station, and then behind it the Sacramento shops. This is another view, a little close up. The freight terminal is off to the left, and the intermodal is out in the back. That area is larger than what's there in reality, because again, I'm just practicing software right now. I wasn't modeling a prototype, so I just did it from my head in order to start moving pieces and parts around. But it's a reasonable representation what's there. If you look in the very background, you can see an old steam train, and sort of modeled the Sacramento Museum up there. This is looking east. It's got a chemical facility that's actually off layout, but I drew it in as prototype. That the building behind it is Continental Can, and then the passenger station and the Sacramento shops off in the distance with a paint shop, a light repair facility, and the warehouse off to the way distance is based on a industry in Roseville, the Rail X service yard. I revised the plan based on discussions. Mark, as I said, generated a plan for the club that goes to the east of where I'm drawing, and this includes a single industry in front where the Continental Can was, that's actually completely modeled on the layout. The Sacramento station is in its proposed location, and the main industry is moved off into a spur, which is going to connect with other industries that are off camera to the left. The Sacramento shops and the repair facilities and paint shop are on a reconfigured track, and this right here is looking off onto a smaller West Sacramento with the 3-track spur going into Sims. So this one is a smaller design, takes up about 40 inches, 44 inches, I think, of space compared to 60 inches, and the buildings are reconfigured to allow for different location of the siding spur. In the next video, I'm going to move that spur and do another configuration, just to play around with the ideas for the guys, the club, and then there may be another video on the same subject once I get their input on it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be looking this black. I blacked out the aisle. This is where the aisle is. You can walk in there and run your trains. You can see a representation of downtown Sacramento off to the right there. And what I'm going to have to do is go and get some photos. This is looking down the aisle. I'll probably in the next video take a photo of that the way it looks right now without any industries, so you can kind of get a side-by-side reference. But I finished up the backdrops and put some more scenic detailing in there, and again, Sims has 3 cars here. So this is kind of the direction we're headed with this site. We're still going to do train run-bys and shows and operation sessions sprinkled in among new content. So I want to thank you for watching. Again, leave your comments. Would love to hear what you think of the new videos and any ideas that you have for future videos like this. And again, we're in 501c3 nonprofit. We are fundraising to restore the building and finish building the layout. Whatever you got helps. So look forward to talking to you, and we'll talk to you on the next one.